Welcome to the Mosaic of Broken Dreams. We're out here in the middle of, Redlands Boulevard. Take a look at this old store. It was a bookstore. It was a hardware store. There's a garden hidden back there. We're going to go visit it. A garden as older and wilder than mine. Let's go find the gardener. Snow-covered mountains all around, but we're virtually underneath the eye canopy. We're going to take a walk inside, under this highway. You never know what you might find. An amazing garden. Oh, and there's our buddy John McGill. Take a look at that old license plate over there, Mikey. Purple Heart. We're going to visit an old Vietnam vet with the Bronze Star for Valor. Purple Heart, wounded in combat in the Tet Offensive, but he came back and started the peace movement in this area and is a gardener. Let's go find Leland Lubinsky. I call this place Rancho Lubinsky. Let's take a walk back. You never know what you'll find in Rancho Lubinsky. And here are our good buddies, John McGill and the gardener himself. Hey, John.
Hey.
Just in time. Good to see you.
Hey.
The man who owns this place and created this garden is going to give us a little tour of his private world. His little, a living mosaic. The living Leland. Mikey, follow him around. Let him show you some of the, look at the amazing diversity. This guy's got species diversity. Those who have seen the earlier episodes know many of my plants came from this garden originally. Look at these amazing things. Here's the old kitchen door of the old house. There's the bookstore, the sheds. At any rate,
Stem orchids.
let him tell you that. Oh, orchids that just come out of the ground.
Well, a lot of pots, yeah. There's agua mansa.
Take a walk back in the garden.
This is a nice little owl.
And there's art objects galore back here. Take a walk back to see the bucket of rusty nails. Well, we got to see the bucket of rusty nails. Here it is. On a pedestal, the bucket of rusty nails. You'll know him by the place where the nails have been, as the old song says. But here we are. Oh, well, Leland's family used to own land here, but they took it for the highway. Oh man, look at this. Look at these orange flowers here.
Aloe.
Aloe in bloom. All right, let's take a walk and look.
But look at that cotton overwintering.
Oh, cotton plant. Yeah, I've picked it. The people have never seen how hard it is to get the seeds out of the cotton plant.
Take them over there.
We can go over and take a look at actual cotton. In fact, John McGill said he didn't know that. Here's cotton. In fact, the whole reason slavery became profitable was they invented a machine that gets the seeds out of the cotton. And if you've ever tried to pick seeds by hand out of cotton, it is annoying. So once they had a machine to do it, they were cranking out cotton, and suddenly slavery, which was not profitable, became profitable. All over again because of Eli Whitney, but I recommend it. If you've never tried it, I'll give some to John. He's a folk singer. He's sung about cotton picking songs before, and he's from Texas. He knows about, but have you ever tried to get these seeds out? Oh, it's so annoying. Anyway, let's take a walk back more.
Past the weeping bamboo.
The weeping bamboo. Watch out. Might need a machete in here. Here's what left of the old. His father and his grandfather had hardware stores, and there's a lot of old shelves full of
left over. The arrowweed.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful plants left over garden stuff, stones.
This is the first time this has bloomed.
Really? First time bloom ever. Some of these things take 50 years to bloom. But look at that, it's Buddha's tower of grinding stone. Put your nose to the grindstone. Literally. I see this as like a little Buddhist tower. We'll give him some hair. It's like a little Buddhist, one of the pagoda. A pagoda made of grindstones, filled with life. Look, he's got so much hardware. Oh, I steal hardware I trade him hardware for stuff from my garden. Oh, there's mosaics to be found in here. Watch out for the...
One man's junk's another man's treasure.
Oh.
As my uncle always said. Move to your right.
One of those peaceful places.
Oh, don't forget the love.
Oh, Leland calls that the old love tub. It's been dry for some time. It's a dry garden now.
Well, show them how it's the heart. You gotta walk around.
Oh, you gotta see it. Oh.
No, not from the inside, from the outside.
See, it's a heart. Here's the point. Here's the heart. And the heartstone. The heartstone. Oh, here it is, the heartstone. I'll sit in the apex of the heart.
A dry water feature.
It's the dry water feature, like leftover love tub made in a heart. He needed the pink tile. What happened to his bathroom is pink? Or these insulators. Hey, he did this because of me. I started using the insulators. Now he started. There's just a collection of stones. Like me, Leland gets stones from all of his hikes, from all of his places. And then look what's hidden in here. Take a look. Look at the trees, the garden in here. It's amazing.
Hey, look at this.
Oh, look at this thing. It's like a brain. Check
Watch
this
it.
out.
Watch it show you.
Yep.
Too late.
Too late. Just got one in the butt. Look at this.
I'll get it for you. Just stop moving and I'll get it for you. Just stop moving and I'll get it for you. Okay. Did you get that one on his ass?
Thorns on the ass. At any rate, who knows what strange hardware and propeller blades, but those plants take a long time to morph into, get that like weird thing that looks almost like a leaf. What is that? Is that a virus that makes them do that?
It's a genetic defect.
A genetic defect that makes them call, isn't that what they call the monstrous?
That's it.
Yeah, it's a monstrosity. Literally, that's what it's called in botany. A defect in the genes that creates the monstrous plant. Let's walk on further. I always love this. Watch out for his trenches. We can keep going. Here's another thing from Leland's garden I always liked. Right in the middle of his garden, you'll find these ancient pieces of huge hardware, like things fallen from outer space in here, along with these old plants. And he's got one of the greatest succulent collections. And leftover rusty hardware. Hey, that was junk sculpture put together by the early peace movements. Leland led the Veterans Against the War when he came back wounded from Vietnam after being in the Tet Offensive. 68, 69, he was right up near the DMZ taking the heat. Came back wounded and immediately said, we're not going to win this war. And started the Veterans Against the War. And that old junk sculpture was a thing left over from, they used to have rock concerts back here. He turned his dad's hardware store into a bookstore after he came back from Vietnam. And hey, we're going to try to play some music in the old bookstore eventually. Then look, Leland was actually, his parents lived in these houses. He was born on this land. He's like 75. He was born here. And his grandparents lived in the main house at the time. And he was born in these little houses. They're pretty run down, just packed with weird old hardware. I go in there sometimes, the most amazing junk. And like, look, there's an African mask mixed with who knows what crazy stuff. It's like I found old tools in there that I use in my garden. In the shadow.
Not African.
What?
Don't you think? Oceanic.
Oceanic, Pacific. Whoa. African to me, but and here it is, the house where Leland was born, or at least
yeah, that side.
It's become a.
There's more African.
Oh, that one's an African mask.
Now you know we have stairs up to the top here.
I like the old horse. Oh, the live cats. Old horse, and look, it's Saint Nick. He's come early on his purple horse with some Chinese people. The immigrants, and oh, this is a bottle capper for making your own beer. I know what that is. Leftover. I still have a function. And insulators galore. We know those make some of the finest mosaic elements. Oh, I've asked Leland sometimes for these old beautiful pieces of steel, and he says, no, this isn't junk. This is part of my mosaic. He says, you can't have it for your mosaic of dreams in your backyard. It's already part of an artwork that's his mosaic of broken dreams, although he wouldn't call it that. So, let's take a look here at the old bookstore. I love this old stuff. I once came out here, I wanted to shoot a book of photographs, and I shot 2,000 photographs, and I carefully arranged this stuff into little towers, you know. It became a David thing. And I thought, cool, I made this sculpture out of all Leland's metal stuff. And as soon as I took my pictures, he came back and put it all back exactly where it was, where I picked it up. He went, no, now it's back where it belongs. It's like, he let me temporarily stage my photograph, create my still life of his junk, but he knows where every one of these weird things is and what it means. It's like, I mean, he's lived here his entire life. In fact, now, besides plants, what does Leland Lubinsky collect? He collects books. A man, something left over from another world. Let's take a look. David. Oh. There he is on his roof.
So those are in bloom. Those are nice. You have telescopic on that. There's a nice shot of that Texas laurel. See with the white flowers? We'll be over there. It'll smell pretty good.
We're on the roof of the old bookstore, but let's look down right from the edge into the garden. It is beautiful. Try zooming in some shots in there.
So that's a Tory pine.
Which one?
The big
oh,
pine
the big
right
one.
in front of you.
Tory pine in front of the
native
cedar.
California, not native to Loma Linda.
And some of these yuccas, man, they spike. They take years, and then they spike. I call them the...
There's one. Can you see it's blossoming?
Oh yeah.
Opening up.
Here's Wire Man.
And the cassia is that bed of yellow. Tree with the white flowers, so it's Sephora, like in Japan, but this one's from Texas. And right next to it, well, you can't see too well, it's the same tree, but only it's purple flowers. So you really need to go there. Smell those flowers and show the difference.
Let's take another walk down in the garden. Take a walk and look at some more plants before we go into the bookstore. I love his giant bamboo plants. Big old ones. These are the kind they build stuff out of in Asia. Vegetable, fruit gardens, various vegetable and fruit gardens. That's the Sephora plant. And look, there's teepees and shading gardens, but well, let's just circle back to the bookstore this way. Who knows, leftover stones from his father's old hardware and junk store. Just all kinds of stuff. You know, stacked up in like I say, logs from trees, and you never know what's blooming back here. And we'll come back another time when the fruits and vegetables and kumquats and oranges are in. But Leland's garden is mostly a wild garden. All right, let's walk. Well, let's walk. Take one with him. Let's see. What'd you say? Wisace?
Wisace.
Wisace, a perfume tree.
This is a major ingredient to a lot of perfumes because it's a perfume that doesn't.
We can't show you this on camera.
Look at these. See, what's this one? That's a Sephora from Texas.
That's the one you mentioned up on the roof.
See, look. But this one is strange.
Something in the pea family, I believe. Oh, here's another one. What's strange about it?
The flowers are white.
Just
They're
that it's
supposed to
white.
be purple. Wow. The seeds are turning brown instead of red. There, that's what's red.
Oh, the bright red seed of the white flower. I'll just take that one home to plant myself.
Look. So this is off the purple one.
Okay, I'll plant both colors.
Okay, before peyote, this is what some tribes use to give them hallucinogens.
It's got like a stimulant, hallucinogen quality to it.
Yeah, but the lethal dose and the hallucinogenic dose are like that close.
Too close to get high.
So when they found out about peyote, they said the hell with that.
Yeah.
4 of them are enough to.
4 are enough to kill you, 3 to get high. Not such a good ratio.
I don't know, depending.
That's what they
know.
It's what they call the difference between the therapeutic and the lethal dose in regular medicine.
A very thin line.
Tight line. That's bad. That's bad. All right.
Here, of course, is the Buddha tree.
This is one of those like flowers in when spring, April.
Yeah, almost year-round. Ficus religiosa, the tree that Buddha was enlightened under. With the long drip tips.
This is the very tree that Buddha sat under. There's that one in India that's huge. That's the spot where Buddha first found enlightenment. Under one of these.
Yes.
And this one's probably, what, 50 years old?
Ooh, quite 50 yet.
Not quite. 40 for sure. A young sproutling.
Well, let me see if we can find a skeletalized leaf.
Oh yeah.
This way, David. Here's some artwork. I was at one time interested in security fencing. That's that kayak. Gives some fruit. It's got those big thorns.
When the Melly apples came back this year, my windows
This
favorite of Victorian gardens. What is it? A melianthus?
Melian.
It looks like almost like an acanthus. Is it related? It is related to acanthus. And look, I love the stacks of old wheels around here. It's the garden of baby buggy wheels. As a kid, we would steal baby buggy wheels before the advent of good skateboards. You know, why this looks like radio flyer wheels. These are baby buggy wheels. The baby buggy wheels made the best go-karts of all. Kids would steal them. And after so many years, it still works. Well, let's take a look in here at some of this. The old shelves. Look, it's another. It's a garden of ancient wheels. Wheels of everything. You could build a tower of rusty wheels and rusty pipes. Rusty ancient insulators made of porcelain for light fixtures that no longer exist. Stacks of them. Here it is, the mosaic of, I don't know, leftover tools. He says it's not abandoned, but I even years ago took a beautiful picture of morning sunlight in the blue crystals here hanging above the ancient hardware. You never know what kind of ancient chains you'll find here. Stuff from another world. Well, let's go look at ancient books. Besides ancient hardware, he's a man of old books. All right, we got sidetracked once, but let's go in and look at the old store. My favorites here is the old back room of the store, including paint samples and copper things and masks and leftover. Oh, there's Karl Marx up there, of course, you know, and as well as any number of maps and leftover signs. This is the back room, and of course, if we head out, well, we could visit the back office, but even here. It's an entire room of rare, old, amazing books. I used to come back in here and notice it's quiet. The highway fades away. You're back. These are the books that weren't for sale. This is where Leland reads. Here's the old, look, an ancient roll-top desk. These are the rarest, most beautiful books, or nature books and field guides, and Leland was like, these are not for sale. This is just the back room for collectors. It's beautiful. Like I said, you never know what you'll find back here. But let's go out in the main bookstore. Here it is. Great heroes. General Sherman, the guy that said, Is Johnson going to let them have slavery again after the Civil War? Hell no. Send General Sherman if they want to reestablish slavery. And they just ignored the president and said, Johnson got impeached, but really Grant, there was a coup d'etat in America. It was Grant and Sherman saying, 1 million dead Union soldiers say no more slavery. And there he is, one of my favorite heroes of the war. And who's this one?
Brown.
Who?
John Brown.
John Brown. Oh, while we're on heroes of the Civil War, John Brown, a terrorist. William Tecumseh Sherman, well, if you're from Georgia, he's a terrorist too. They still call him a terrorist. I call him the ultimate defender of freedom. We hope we have generals that would take over from an incompetent president. It's happened once. Grant was elected twice in a row, and he should have been elected even more. And why didn't Sherman become president? Because he was too crazy after the war. He was what Grant said, oh, you guys think you're going to suppress black people and put them back into slavery? No, I'm sending Sherman. And usually they backed right off. Oh, no, don't send Mad Dog Sherman. Oh, no. And yeah, he did a lot of bad things, but really, come on, that's the original defense. That's where America was born.
As Lincoln says in the second inaugural, slavery is a debt of blood. It has to be paid in blood. And
debt of blood.
I misunderstood John Brown, but yeah that's...
this guy said slavery would never be gotten that way without a debt of blood, and Sherman's the one that took the PTSD, whatever. I mean, he was... Great. I mean, seen more combat than you or anybody else I've ever heard of. I mean, here's a combat veteran, but Sherman was like, ah!
You don't believe that? Ask the Indians.
Yeah, I know. He killed a lot of Native Americans too. That's true. They sicked him on Geronimo. Still, that's the old thing. If you disobey, they sicked him on Mormons too. Oh, the Mormons here in San Bernardino, the Mormons tried to take over, and after the Civil War, they said, we're going to send Sherman. And the Mormons went running back to Utah. Running back. Both Confederates and Mormons tried to claim this town here. But no, just the thought of Sherman marching in was like, no. Like Mikey always says, I love the way the streets are in north, south, east, and west. And he says, oh, those Mormons, they laid everything out on the compass. And, but here, a world of books. Hasn't been a real bookstore for a while. Leland is still a bookseller, and I don't know, I think it's time for John to break out his guitar. And Leland's got an old songbook from 1963. It's the Freedom Riders hymnal. This little light of mine, we shall overcome, and many other classics. Which side are you on? He's got his 1963 songbook he pulled out and said, I wonder if John can play any of these songs. I said, I think John already knows some of these songs. And like I said, I did a jazz show in here years ago when it was still a bookstore. But take a walk around, actually. You want to get a really cool shot. Here's the stairway to get the upper books. Take the camera up the stairway and shoot down on the whole bookstore. Just a man with a few books, you can't let go of. That's what Leland wanted to hear. The man who, like I say, hey, this was where the protest against the war in 70, 71 at the end of the Vietnam War, this was the bookstore where all the veterans hung out. And when everyone saw the veterans with their decorations marching against the war, that's what turned the tide. And by the way, Leland's got a board of protest buttons in his kitchen that go all the way back to the 60s. Every protest march against the war, he's been part of it. This was the place where it all happened. This place reminds me of like being a teenager in the 60s. I used to go sing, in my little high school rock band in weird little bookstores. I was underage, couldn't play bars or anything. I'd play these little, there was a Phoenix bookstore at the time. All these places are gone. Here it is. It's like an instant flashback. All the same books I used to read even are still here. I mean, Leland does specialize in military history and botany. He's got a vast collection of botany. Hey, go get your guitar, John. Let's try singing in here. All right, let's have a little concert in the old bookstore, like when I was young. Oh man, I was in high school back in the 60s, and I used to play when I was underage in all kinds of little folky bookstores full of books like this with signed Pete Seeger posters around. And so let's bring it back. All right, sing the classic Motherless Child. Really.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Long way from home. Give us a solo, David. I could fly like a bird. Sometimes I wish I could fly like a bird. Sometimes I wish I could fly like a bird. A long way back home. And sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long, long way from home. A long way from home.
From an old book in the bookstore, We Shall Overcome, 1963, Songs for the Southern Freedom Movement. Well, we need them now more than ever. Let's do one from the old book, John.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine for freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine for freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine for freedom. I'm gonna
right, we have reinvoked the ghosts of We Shall Overcome here in the bookstore of the past. The past. Here's a young man that was born in the bookstore. Probably doesn't even remember these songs. Uh-oh. Leland's got more here. Get in there. Show it to the camera. And did you got the poster?
1939. Here you go.
1939.
Apropos again, right. Before World War II.
Oh man, the Peat Bog Soldiers. We'd have to learn this one. It doesn't have guitar chords. Just a melody, but wow, look at these old songs. Songs for America, the Peat Bog Soldiers.
You know who those are, the Peat Bog?
I don't know, who are the
Read
Peat? Read. That print is so small. My poor eyes. The stirring song was produced by political prisoners in German concentration camps who rebelled at singing the Nazi songs. Though the words are safe, prisoners sang with such gusto, particularly in the last chorus, with its veiled meaning, that the song was finally forbidden. The melody was notated here by Hans Eisler, and it's far and wide, the Peat Bog Soldiers. Well,
Check it out on YouTube.
We'll have to learn this one. We'll do it for you. Maybe next time we can learn some of these old songs of America from the old days. Wow. You never know. This is a book from, what'd you say, 1938. This is for when they're talking about the heroes of the Great War. They're talking World War I here. Those people are long gone. So again, you never know what to find. Sometimes, yeah, you can find it all on Wikipedia, but I don't know. I've found things wandering in this bookstore. I found things in these old books that I'm telling you, you're not going to find it on Wikipedia or Project Gutenberg or wherever you go online. Why come to a bookstore? Why have, I don't know. That's what we're trying to answer here with our podcast. You know, how do we live with all this old stuff? It's not going away. Why do people still love mosaics in a world of Photoshop and Instagram? Who knows why people like it? Well, I'd like to go back into the kitchen of the old house too. Take one more little walk, and we have time, I think, for a closer song in the kitchen. Back here in the kitchen of the old garden, this is Rancho Lubinsky still, and the history of the anti-war movement is right here on the wall. And when I was a young teenager, when this man was out in some terrible spot in the middle of the Tet Offensive, I was a kid in high school singing songs and wondering what the was going on. And I used to sing at coffee houses, and the Doors came out, and oh, that was it. So let's close with a song I sang in my high school rock band. Well, the clock says it's time to close now. I guess I'd better go now. I really want to stay here all night. All night. All night. Well, let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind by your gentle stove. Turn me out and I want to baby. I'm gonna be under the neon. Well, your fingers weave quick minarets. They speak in secret alphabets. I light another cigarette. Learn to forget. I'll learn to forget. Learn to forget. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind by your gentle stove. Throw me out and I want you, baby. Out to the neon rose. Out to the neon, don't throw me out in the neon. neon. Let me stay in the garden, please God, let me stay in the garden. Don't want to go back to the neon world. Too many cars, too many stores, too many fast food burgers, places that look like hell on earth. Hell no. Don't throw me out into the neon. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Throw me out, oh no, I don't want to go. Throw me out and I want to baby. Out in the neon. Well, the clock says it's time to close now. We gotta go right now. But I really want to stay here all night long. Hey!
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah.
Leftovers from high school.
Right.